Alright guys, today we're revisiting the GSG. I scoured the internet and I was trying to find out if a standard trigger would fit in my GSG 1911. And from what I read, some people said it could, so other people said it wouldn't. So I figured, why not? So I'll do the video and I'll find out if it really will or won't take a standard 1911 trigger. So that's what we're going to do today, guys. I'm going to take this thing apart. I figured since I'm going to be taking it all the way down to the nitty gritty, might as well go ahead and do a video on the entire thing. So what you're going to need first off, hammer, good set of punches. That's basically it for getting one of these apart. Flathead screwdriver, of course, for taking out the magazine release. First thing we're going to do, as always, make sure the gun's clear. It is clear. So first off, we're going to turn the gun over and we're going to remove this little Allen. It's a 5/64 size screw. Okay. Now you'll make sure you're doing this in a place where you're not going to lose any of your screws. Let's just set that to the side. Now pull the gun back to the takedown notch. Push out the takedown pin. One last thing. It's this extra pin right here. And now the upper will slide right off the lower. We'll go ahead and set the upper to the side. Okay, now we've got the lower. What you're going to do next, you're going to knock out this pin right here. I'm going to use an 1/8 inch punch. You definitely want a punch block or a roll of tape or something for this disassembly. It might help if you actually let down your hammer first. That would relieve some tension on the mainspring housing. Alright, mainspring housing comes out. You'll notice that I've removed the magazine disconnect from mine. Didn't really see any use for that thing. Kind of hate those things. Now, next thing that's going to come out is, well, your shear spring might pop out of there. Just set that to the side. At this point, you could actually remove your grips because you're going to have to take them off. Well, you're going to have to at least take this side off. So let's go ahead and remove the right side grip. The only reason you have to remove this really is because this safety on this side is actually underneath the grip. So this side of the grips has to be removed. And that side is removed. Now, this is the point at which we're going to remove the safety. Please keep in mind that this detent and spring are not retained in this housing. So whenever you remove your safety, that spring and detent are going to want to fly away. This side does not have a detent or anything. You can actually just pull this right off. This side's the one you got to watch. I just cover it with my hand. Work it out little by little. At this point, you can see it didn't fly out on me. There it is. Going to want to remove that. And now your grip safety will come out. And that spring may or may not come out of there. Mine doesn't want to seem to come out of there right now, so I'm just going to leave it in there. That's fine. I don't need it removed. Alright. So next we're going to go ahead and remove the hammer. It's this pin right here. This is not real tight. It's just basically sitting in there holding that in. You can just push it right out with your 1/8 inch punch. You're going to remove your hammer. Now next we're going to remove the sear and the disconnect. That's the next thing that's going to come out of here. Now you might notice, if you didn't watch my last video, I removed the Series 80 stuff that was in here and I put in a spacer block. I don't really see the point of having the striker block in this gun. I don't know why they did that. I guess that's just what they chose to do. So now we're going to remove that pin there. And at this point, the sear and the disconnect are going to come out. I'm going to try to capture them so you can see how they came out and how they will go back in there. There's a spacer. Your gun will still have your Series 70 stuff if you haven't converted it. And this is your sear and your disconnect. And they sit together just like that. You can tell I've not had mine out of the gun because it still has factory grease on it. We'll make sure we re-grease this when we put it back in. Set that to the side, set your pin to the side. You've now removed everything from the interior of your 1911. The last thing you want to do is go ahead and remove this magazine. Your magazine button. Can't even think of it right now. Anyway, you're going to remove it. You're just going to press up on your your magazine release. Push it up, and then you're going to reach in there and just turn this little screw, and now it should come right out of there, just like that. At this point, the trigger will come out. And now it is entirely disassembled. Let's take a look at this one and take a look at the new trigger. I can tell you right now, the old trigger has a pretty seriously heavy trigger bar. There. Here's the new trigger. Here's the old one. Let's see how it fits. So the trigger's basically gonna go in same way it came out, like so. Alright, there's a little bit of play up and down, which this is pretty normal for a 1911. It's just part of it. Let's see how much play there is with the factory trigger. Alright, so this trigger actually fits extremely well. There's no up and down at all, up and down wiggle. So this seems to have some play in it, and I would assume it's because it's a drop-in trigger, and so they make these to fit every frame. Also, I would say it's because it's not actually designed for this 22. It's designed basically for standard 1911. What I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna take a little bit of grease, not a lot, just a little bit, and I'm gonna grease the sides of the trigger here. These walls are what touches the inside of your frame. So I'm just gonna grease those just a smidge, and then we're gonna fit this back into the gun. Just like that. Alright, now we're going to put our magazine release back into the gun. Just like so. I'm going to press on the other side, reach in there, and just play it back and forth until you can turn the screw. Once the screw's turned, it is back in there properly. Just looking from the top of the gun, it doesn't look like the trigger is going to interfere with the magazine at all. So no real point in even messing with that, trying to see if that's going to interfere at all. I highly doubt it will. Alright, so next we're going to put our sear disconnect and my Series 70 spacer. This is going to go back in the gun, and I apologize because some of this is going to be pretty hard to get on camera, but it's spacer is going to go back in the same way it came out. And if you don't have this spacer, you're going to have to fit your Series 80 parts back in it. But for me, it's just as simple as dropping this spacer block back in there. And actually, really right now would be a great time to go ahead and do that mod. Drop this spacer in there, and then you'd have to remove the Series 80 stuff from your slide as well. Alright, next we're going to put our sear and disconnect in there. I'm going to take just a smidge of grease here, and I'm going to grease these contact points, and right here, just basically anywhere the trigger and hammer connect. Just a little bit of grease, don't have to use a whole lot. Now, this is going to go back in here just like this, okay? Just like this. I'm going to try to do this on the first go. Basically, there's a little hole right on the top of the frame that this is going to connect with. And if you don't get this on your first go, it's not a problem, okay? Everybody who's ever worked with one of these understands. Alright, so I've got my sear and disconnect back in there. You might see I had to stop the video and split it. It's because, well, it took me a few tries. Just didn't want to waste a bunch of time. But I've got it back in there, so we're good to go there. Now we're going to put our hammer back in. This is real simple. You just basically drop your hammer in there, take the pin, and put it through the hole. Alright, now it doesn't actually hurt, and just because this is so simple, it doesn't hurt to actually grease this thing. Take just a little bit of grease and grease your contact points where it meets your sear and the disconnect and all those lovely places, because basically the more lubrication you have, the smoother it is. I know, I can hear the jokes now. Alright, so we're going to push our pin back through there. And boom, that is done. Alright, next varies. Some people do this a little differently. I kind of prefer to put my sear spring in there. Now, when you do this, if you put your sear spring in first, you could have some trouble because it'll jump all over the place and want to do all sorts of weird stuff, but it's just easier to get it in there now, in my opinion. So I usually drop the sear spring in. There's a little notch, that's where that fits, and then make sure your leaf spring is sitting on the lip of your disconnector. Okay, you don't want it to be sitting underneath that. You want it to sit on top of that. Now place your thumb over that. You're going to flip your hammer strut down, just basically holding pressure against that. This is the tricky part. Some people put this in first. It kind of gets in the way, so I like to put my grip safety in there next, and then just hold that against this so nothing's moving. Next, we're going to put our little plunger in here, press it in just a little bit, and we'll get our safety started. Now, as we've got the safety started, I'm going to take and I'm going to press the plunger in. As I push my safety down. Now my safety's not all the way down, but it's got a good start. So we just wiggle it down and it goes right on, no problem. This side of the safety really doesn't matter, just because as long as it's pointing in the same direction, there's a little notch here, and so it meets the other safety. You just got to find the notch and basically press it on. Easy as can be. Alright, next and final step, other than putting the grip on, is putting our mainspring housing on. So we're going to put the mainspring housing in. You can see where your hammer strut is supposed to go to meet the your mainspring. Press it up. Line it up. Get your pin ready. And hammer it in. And just like that, it's all back together. Put our grip on. Alright, lower's back together. I'm going to pull the hammer back. It catches. Good to go. Try the trigger. And it's actually pretty doggone crisp. There's that little bit of play, but I haven't adjusted the trigger yet, so I really do like a flat trigger. So everything seems to be in working order. Safety's good. So let's take and put the upper deck on the gun. It's as simple as sliding this back on. Basically everything in reverse order what we just did the first go. Put that pin back in first. Pull the slide back to the takedown notch. Put in there. Put the screw back in. And everything's good to go. And it seems that this trigger will work in your GSG. There's that little bit of play, but you know what? I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I really do like a flat trigger, so it seems it's gonna work. So let's take this to the range and do some shooting. Alright guys, so we've got the GSG 1911. We're out here at the range, got that new trigger in there. Let's do some shooting and see how it does. See if it runs, see if I like it any better. Those were some Federals. Let's try some Remingtons on the other target. Oh, had a dive. Wow, this is some crappy ammo. Dirty, dirty. Getting some blowback in my face. Whew. Wow. That's a good group though. That's acceptable accuracy. Even that's acceptable accuracy. Everything within that. For a gun that doesn't technically have its barrel pinned to the barrel or to the frame, that's pretty good. And the trigger, guys, it's even with that little bit of wobble, it feels much better than a curved trigger. But I really do like a flat trigger anyway. So. And look at that. This seems to be one of the things that I've had issue with ever since I did the upgrade on these magazines and put a heavier magazine spring in them. It seems like I usually have one that wants to flip out straight up. So I might have to do a mod video on my magazines next. And that was the rest of that mag. And all those are right there in the same grouping there. So yeah, it works. I like it. I mean, what more can you ask for? The trigger, I picked it up from Fusion Firearms. I got it for $29.95. And it runs, it works. I like the feel of it a lot better. It kind of does extend the reach a little bit, but I've got pretty big hands, so I kind of like the trigger to be further forward anyway. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you decide to do this mod yourself, let me know, and just so that I know that I'm helping somebody else out, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Also, if you're not subscribed, hey, why not subscribe? That way you'll be notified of other videos like this one and other useful videos that hopefully you find educational and will help you out. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe and get out and enjoy the great outdoors.